Caribbean American News Media, your Tuesday night power hour. Live every Tuesday at 8:15 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and GVV TV channel 115. Join your host, Garfield Oliver, as he dives deep into the latest inclusion developments, regional affairs, and global issues that matter to you. From politics to the economy, community stories to international headlines, we cover it all with real talk and real insights. Stay informed, get the facts, be part of the conversation. Don't miss out. Set your reminders, share with your friends, and tune in. Caribbean American News Media, the news you report. Caribbean.
They stream the tears and the cheers so clear. From the church to the pitch, they're always near. Tie the knot or score the goal, my friend. GVD TV's got you till the end. They stream the highs, they stream the lows, from wedding vows to final shows, through life's twists and the path it bends. GVD's there, it never ends.
You are viewing Caribbean American News Media on YouTube and on Facebook. You can also find us on 360 Radio. Your host for tonight is Garfield Oliver. Let's get to work.
All right, we are at work. Greetings to all. Welcome to Caribbean American News Media Platform. We're live on the air. The time is, I believe, 8:07 p.m. Folks, it is Tuesday night, and we know once it is Tuesday night that we are on live on the air. So greetings to all our beautiful people, those of you who are viewing us from the United States. Greetings to you over there in Canada, England, and to our new Guyanese viewership. Thank you so much for being part of the experience. Over 6,000 of you. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And our brothers and sisters over there in Code Yellow, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, the rest of the world, and the Eastern Caribbean. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the platform. Please share as you come in. To those of you viewing over there on our YouTube channel, I want to welcome you over there. We have Sister, our friend, Sister Gloriana. And over there on our Facebook page, we have Veronica, we have Lisa, and Toussaint, and all the others. Keep coming in, folks, and share the live and tag a friend. We have some breaking developments out of Guyana. We got word that the body of Ariana Young was transferred to the United States, transported to the United States for further investigations by the U.S. authority. And so the family, the mother, and some of the other family members, they have accompanied the body, and they are right now here in the United States with the body of Ariana. And we know that there's a lot of mystery surrounding that death, and we're looking forward to an end where the family can arrest the body very soon. Amen. Again, greetings to all. We're hearing that there are strikes in St. Lucia. Castries, truckers took to the streets, and my God, it seems that their cup is full and running over. Customs also. And there's some chatter about the elections, the date of the elections, and we're not worried about dates at this point. We're just concerned about preparation and about getting this country back on track. So Our job, folks, is to watch. We are not here as political hacks. I am not a hack for sure. We're here because of our concerns for the country, concern for the people of the country. I know that there are those who don't care. They don't give a hoot about anything. Once they get some chicken and rum, then everything is all right. But the vast majority, those like the sand of the sea, who are very concerned. They're very concerned. They're not ferocious. They're not outspoken. But they are professionals, and they are watching carefully what is happening. But greetings to all on the platform and to the Springer family. We'd like to convey our deepest condolences to his family and his friends. We hope that you be comforted by divine beings. We want to wish happy birthday to all those who were celebrating birthdays and also anniversaries. Greetings again. Hey, one more year above Earth, and that is a good thing. Jean France, greetings to you. Thank you so much for sharing the experience with us here. And also Faria, greetings. Melissa, greetings. Joy, greetings. Continue to share. Tonight we have a special town hall meeting. We have a number of guests here with us on the platform, and we're hoping that we will have smooth running with our through cyberspace. Of course, anything that is human, that is touched or built by humans, will have flaws and defect. And so we're hoping that the system functions the way it should. Lamentine, greetings to you. Gilbert, greetings to you. And that, hey, all goes well. All right. Remember, the number to call is 929-586-1821. That will get you live on the air. The lines are not open as yet. It will be open later on. Later on, friends. We have some professionals here with us, and we want to have a beautiful discussion. I know I sound a bit like Mr. Trump there. Everything is just beautiful and gigantic and big, you know. So, hey, let's see where it goes from here. All right. Let's go over to our panel. We're going to start our panelists. We're going to start early tonight. We're going to get right into our business. And folks, again, we invite you to share the live, tag a friend. And by the way, to the supporters of the SLP who wants to come in, you are free to come in. You don't have to stay out of the live. You can come in and share the moments with us. All we ask you to do is to be respectful. Be respectful to the regular viewers on this platform, but all are welcome here tonight. All right, so we go over to our main screen where we have a number of professionals here with us, and two of them I mean Dr. Fletcher. I want to start with Dr. Fletcher, who is who has been very close to me. She's a prayer warrior, of course. She's my spiritual mother. She led me through a lot of difficult moments, and I'm happy to have, I believe it's the first time on the platform. She have always been under the platform, but now she is on the platform, and that's a beautiful thing to have Dr. Fletcher. I met her in New York at a function, I believe, downtown Brooklyn at one of the hotels there. Mr. Shastney and everybody were there, and then my eyes just laser on this woman, and I'm like, and you know, some of your minds are messed up. It's not about love and all these kind of things. Some of you might need to be watched, but I just got attracted to her, and you know, and from that we just click and we became friends, and ever since, that's the history. We are together for life on the same mission, and I'm happy to have Dr. Fletcher here, a very strong woman in your country. She served as the ambassador of ambassadors, responsible for all government affairs ambassadors and embassies, consulate around the world, Dr. Fletcher. I don't know how you did it, but you did it anyhow. But thank you so much for being here with us. And there is a gentleman, I've always been hearing his name in the media, and I listened to his commentary and everything else, and that is Mr. Myers. I got the name wrong 3 times tonight, and thank God I got it right. That is Mr. Frank Myers. He's here with us. He is an experienced accountant. I follow him, his discussions, and I'm happy to have him here. He is the right person to be on the platform tonight. He's not a hack, but he's a St. Lucian. He's concerned about his country. And so our discussions tonight will be of great help to you, our listeners. All right, there's no drama here, folks, but it's just going to be discussing the issues that are impacting the country. All right, so Mr. Myers, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We also have with us, and I got to tread softly lest I get arrested on the screen tonight. That is my honorable friend here, Mr. Modestas. Good to have you. He's a retired police officer, and he's a concerned citizen. I listened to him briefly, and he's concerned. He's concerned about what is happening in the nation. I go over to Joanne. Greetings to you. She's from a very beautiful village. Very beautiful village. I had her incoming rep, Laura, on the platform last week. So I believe that she will be in good hands, and I'm happy to have her here as a concerned citizen. Also, you know who I am, friends. So if you're new to the platform, I am your host, and that is Oliver. We will be here with you tonight. So let's go over to our panelists, and I'm going to ask them to just say something briefly. We call this the warm-up for the real McCoy tonight. So let's start from our top screen. That is Ambassador Dr. Fletcher. Please, Dr. Fletcher, welcome to the platform.
Thank you, Gaffel. Thank you for the invite, and good night to all my Furbo family. And I just would like to say, Gaffel, to correct you before they take your neck. I was, though I have been an international diplomat working for international organizations for the better part of my career, apart from working for the government of St. Lucia when I left as an acting deputy director of finance, I was in St. Lucia working for the Alan Chastney government as the ambassador for diaspora affairs. So mean that I was responsible for all the diaspora organizations throughout the world, or where solutions are. So
Wow.
good night, everybody. Good night, panelists. It's nice to be amongst you, and thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. And we'll go over to our friend Joanne.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joan, and I'm just a concerned citizen. I love my country, and I just would like to see some changes being made, and I would like to see these changes being made, particularly in library, where I'm a librarian, and I would like to see better for our community.
Thank you, Joanne. And we go over to Mr. Modestus.
Yes, you got it right.
That's right.
Modestus Louis
Yes.
is my name. I am a very concerned citizen. Yes, as Garfield mentioned, I was a police officer. But first of all, I momentarily forgot my manners. So good night to St. Lucia, and good night to everyone watching, wherever you may be. And I would say definitely I am a concerned citizen. Very, very concerned about my country, not about myself. I mean, I'm at the stage where I'm lying down on my bed the way I made it. So I'm not too concerned about that. But I'm worried about the generations coming. And that is where my concerns lie. Because the things that we do will impact how our people, our children, our grandchildren, our descendants live in this country. Our parents did what they could, and they left it for us. Are we going to leave it, St. Lucia, better than we found it, or worse? This is my concern, and this is what I'll be driving at.
All right, thank you so much, Modestus. And now we have my friend, Mr. Myers.
Thank you, Garfield. Good evening, everyone, fellow panelists, viewers, wherever you may be. As you've heard, my name is Frank Myers. I'm a semi-retired chartered accountant. I say semi-retired because having worked for almost a lifetime, it's difficult to come to a complete halt. And I think that's the last thing one wants to do because it's amazing how quickly you go brain dead if you don't keep on going. My concern is like all the panelists here. We're concerned about the future of St. Lucia. Some of us may have lived good lives up to now, but when we look at the conditions in the world today, and in the last 100 days, as you all know, it's changed dramatically. So we can ill afford some of the mistakes we're making, and we really have to try and get back on track. I think it is our job, especially if you want to call it, and put that in inverted commas, the educated sector in St. Lucia. We have a responsibility to bring to bear the education we have. A lot of people in my era were educated at the taxpayer's expense. We all went to university on scholarships, etc., always at the taxpayer's expense. And I think we have a duty to the country to bring to bear our experience and our education so we can, if you will, create the path going forward. And that is my concern at the moment. I don't think that we're doing that.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Myers. Very experienced, as I said, folks we have here from law enforcement to accounting. We have our community activists and also Dr. Fletcher here. So share the live and tag a friend. I want to start with a recent development there in the St. Lucia Labour Party on, I think it was Sunday. We heard Dr. Anthony announcing his retirement from politics. He will not run in the upcoming general elections. I want to go over to Dr. Fletcher to get some thoughts from her. And then I'm hoping that the other panelists would come in on that. How is St. Lucia? What is going to be? How is the political landscape going to look now? Now that Dr. Anthony is no longer in play.
Well, I knew Dr. Anthony when he joined the public service, when he came in as a prime minister, when he was brought in. So people like me have known him and watched him and grew up under him. And having been a young person growing up with Sir John, it was really, and the United Workers Party always being in governance while I was there. It was a bit difficult for me to come in and watch them bring what you call the savior. He was just like a messiah. He came in and he saved the St. Lucia Labour Party. There was the one little instance when we had the Labour Party came into that 1979 era, 82. But that was pure confusion. It's like they just could not lead. And Dr. Anthony came in and he took the Labour Party and kept them in power from 1997 to 2006. So He is the only leader in my time, my growing up, that of a Labour Party rule that I, Garfield, I analyzed and I listened over and over to Dr. Anthony's speech. It's a man I've spoken to, I worked with. During my era at CARICOM was during the time when they were in power, because he had lost in 2006, but he came back in 2011. And I used to meet him whenever he was coming to CARICOM. My SG would say to me, "Your prime minister." Now, one thing about me, it doesn't matter to me at the time who's heading my country. But if I am in a foreign country and my head of state is coming, I will give them the honor that is due to them as my head of state, because I'm a solution. So I always went out and took the role while at CARICOM to be more like a liaison officer to my prime minister. What I saw in listening to and I wasn't surprised. I wasn't taken aback, because for months I have been watching and listening. Well, not months actually, since we lost the elections. I've been watching Dr. Anthony's um, response, his reaction to the win by Philip J. Pierre, and trying to analyze it. And one thing I noticed is that Dr. Anthony, I recall him saying that he would not join the cabinet immediately because he had medical things to take care of, something to that effect. But then again, when they lost, I'm not lost, sorry, I mean, forgive me, when he came back, 4 years later, he never joined the cabinet. Now, some might want to put it in and say that Dr. Anthony didn't join the cabinet because he said that um, this gentleman was in the, as long as this gentleman was in the cabinet, he would never, in a cabinet, he'd never join a cabinet, that man, or words to that effect, because I don't want to say anything that is not precisely what it is, but something to that effect, that he would never work in a cabinet with Mr. Frederick. Okay, so saying maybe that's not why. Then there was another school of thought. I sat down with some political mind in the region, and there was somebody gave me a very insightful position, knowing Dr. Anthony a little better than me. They said to me, Doc, Dr. Anthony lost the election in 2006 to Sir John. He didn't take that very badly, because Sir John was always the leader of St. Lucia, the man that brought. So Dr. Anthony grew up under Sir John himself. But Dr. Anthony, that was a one-off loss. The second loss to him by the Chasnays, by Michael Chasney, by Alan Chasney, the same Chasnays that he said that the election was between the Chasnays and the St. Lucia Labour Party. He lost that election to that Chasney after all that he had said. We think that he didn't lose his seat, but for a sitting prime minister, he lost his seat. He won his seat by just a few hundred votes, maybe 200 plus. That's all he won it by. And he was the sitting prime minister, a man that had been there leading this country for 20 years. And here he lost that seat. I think the colleague was saying he thinks that Dr. Anthony was stepped away from being the leader out of anger, out of pride, out of disdain, or maybe he was pressured because he has lost twice. And they told him, you have to step down. And the only other guy who had been there a long time with Mr. Hunt, and Dr. Anthony came and find him there, they put in Mr. Pierre, Honorable Pierre. So Dr. Anthony just didn't want to work in any cabinet, not only with Mr. Frederick, but also with under Philip Pierre. Now he gave an explanation as to why he didn't come, because he said he wanted Mr. Pierre to have his free reign to work as he wanted to without any interference from him. I think he used a term of tiptoeing or walking on eggshells or something to that effect. Somehow my mind cannot wrap around this, because how can you say that the prime minister, you cannot work in a cabinet with him, because you don't want to walk on eggshells. It's what you bringing in. You had this Labour Party, you formed it, you made it successful for 20 years. There's so much you could be sharing and passing on to um, Mr. Pierre, but you did not want to go. And also the other cabinet colleagues, but you didn't want to go into the cabinet. I listened to some of his speeches in Parliament, and some of them were very telling. So all that time I'm following. When he came and he said he's leaving, he's going to leave. And he had this whole thing. You must watch the whole stage. He didn't want any of his cabinet colleagues, only his constituents, because these are the people that kept him in there for 20 years. Why not your colleagues to come and send you out? Because if I am going for something, I would have this whole, all my colleagues, all the people I've worked with, the people, especially the long standing ones, he didn't want them there with him. He wanted to be there with just his constituents. These are the people he thinks are the loyalty. My analysis is that you take in the fact that he never joined the cabinet, you take in the fact that he was disturbed by them having a man who had insulted him, who had called him the worst kinds of names, who had said the worst things to him, was now a part of that cabinet. And Dr. Anthony has a certain amount of integrity. And to him, no matter how much he can smile, there were certain lines that he would not cross. And that was
Right.
one of them.
Yeah. But thank you so much for that analysis. I just thought that I would allow you the opportunity to say something on that. So I'm not sure if any one of you want to say anything more on that, because we're going to move on to some of the major issues that are impacting our society. Now, we have a situation at our port. That is the whole GPH deal. I know that not a lot of St. Lucians are aware of the details of the GPH agreement.
Garfield,
Yes.
before we move on from that, and I appreciate Dr. Fletcher's analysis, but one of the things Dr. Fletcher did not touch on
Hmm.
is the fact that today you have a St. Lucia which is fractured. It is broken. It is divided along political lines. There appears to be a chasm between UWP and Labour Party supporters. No one wants to recognize or understand that we are all St. Lucians. And all of us, it would take all of us to put our shoulders to the wheel and take this country forward. Now, I lay this squarely at the feet of Dr. Kenny D. Anthony.
Why is that so? Go
He
ahead.
is, yes, he is the one who brought in that tribalism, that political tribalism, the division, the anger. I grew up in the 60s, the 70s, and I first voted in 1979.
Mm.
But at no time during election campaigning, that is the only time you would hear about Labour and Flambeau. That was the only time. The day after elections, yes, you would get, motorcades and people rejoicing, the winners. The second day, no one knows who is Labour or Flambeau again until the next election campaign. That is a fact because that was my experience growing up. from 1997. I don't know how many of you see how people like to forget that Dr. Anthony introduced affirmative action.
Tell me more.
Everybody seems to have forgotten that. Yes, at the Labour Party's first convention, affirmative action. What they were saying is that, oh, for so many years, Labour supporters had been disadvantaged and all that kind of thing, which was absolute rubbish. Because one of the complaints about Sir John Compton during the time that he led the country, one of the complaints you heard regularly from his supporters was that Sir John giving everybody a job. Sir John was not concerned. When it came to running the country, Sir John was never concerned about what political party someone supported. And you, of course, are younger than myself and you would not be aware of this, but you can
Yeah.
speak to some of the older people. And that was always the situation. Dr. Anthony bringing in this affirmative action was the first step in dividing the population. And he brought about that hatred. Today, people do not want to understand that we are all St. Lucians. It's like being a supporter of a political party is more important than being a supporter of St. Lucia. That I leave that wholly, totally at Dr. Anthony's feet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone wants to come in on this discussion before we go on to GPH? Mr. Frank, you want to come in on that?
Express views that we don't want to I really don't want to go into depth, but I hear
Much of Modestus's comments. I probably can go a lot further, but I won't at this particular point in time. I am not likely to be particularly forgiving of Dr. Anthony, because I believe that when he came in, he had a huge responsibility because of what was sold to St. Lucia. And he underperformed badly. That's my opinion. And I could express it more strongly than that, but I really don't wish to, because I don't think it would serve any purpose. I rather try to move on from here and see what can be done.
Yep. So while you are on this, in our main frame, can you explain to us this whole GPH deal? A lot of St. Lucians, they're not even aware of what is happening, what the deal entails. You will hear some people saying, well, our cargo port was given up and all our ports are given up and we have no access, it's no longer ours. What's going on with the GPH?
It's one of those things, whenever you try to explain it, people get lost in the relative complications of it. But it's quite simple, really. What we have here is the insertion, if you will, of a middleman who brings nothing to the table except fine words and supposed experience. And for that, we've given him an asset which was being perfectly well managed by the St. Lucia ANC Ports Authority, and we get very little in return. There's conversation around the fact that, and you get this a lot from the government, that the port was not sold, because there's another set of conversation going on that the port was sold to GPH. The port was not sold in the sense of one asset being exchanged for another, but the cash flows from any one asset if it is directed by an individual, that individual effectively owns the ports, owns the assets. And this is the situation we have with the Port Authority at the moment. Over the length of the lease agreement, there's 30 years with an option to extend for another 10. The initial cash flows will go to GPH. And from that, they will keep the majority of it and give, if you will, the scraps to the government of St. Lucia. And for that, what would we be getting? There is nothing that's being done at the port. From what I have seen from the document that was signed by GPH and the government, the commitment they give us to what they could do, there's nothing that could not have been done. In the first instance, GPH is injecting $27 million US into that project of their own money. Now, when I say their own money, it could either be they brought the money in, I'm not sure, or they took out the loan at a local bank to put that money in, and I'm not sure either. Now, if they took the money, if they took a loan at a local bank for that money, the question has to arise is, how did they guarantee that loan? Because when one looks at the balance sheet of the parent company of GPH, there was no tangible asset on that balance sheet which would support a loan by a bank away from the home base of the company, which at the time was London. They were listed in the local stock exchange. So effectively what we have is a foreign party coming in, selling a dream to the government, we facilitating everything, giving them everything, and we get scraps for it. Now, at the end of those 40 years, those assets, they whatever they're doing, whatever they're building, will have been bled. And at that point in time, when we need to reinvest to get that port working physically ready for the next stage in its development, we've got to spend a whole pile of money again. So in the end, we get nothing. They draw all the money, and then we've got to go back and rebuild the port to go on to the next stage. That is the basic, the core of this matter. And the thing is, St. Lucia and Seaports Authority, when you look into their history, they have a fine history of servicing their debts and being run profitably. At the moment, if I recall, the only loan, as far as I'm aware, that the Ports Authority had was a $20 million loan that the Ports Authority had taken out of the National Insurance Corporation a couple of years ago, and that loan was being serviced. And as part of the deal with GPH undertook to continue servicing that loan, right? They're not paying it off. They continue servicing the loan. And so whilst there's a suggestion that they put in, $47 or $45 million, in actual fact, the $18 million that's outstanding in that loan now is not being paid off by GPH. They simply took the loan over. So for $27 million injection, they are getting a fully functional port with the cash flows stretching 30, 40 years into the future. And I think people have got to understand that aspect of it. The cash flows are going 20, 30 years into the future. Now, what cash flows? $10 per head, $10 per head for each passenger coming into the port, $10 per head. And I think the numbers are estimated to rise to $1 million a year, thus the large numbers that we get ultimately. And I think it's this conversion from a small number, if you will, $10 a head, to I think $400 million down the line. This is what people are finding it difficult to wrap their heads around, the large numbers. But the thing is, once you start to deal with any factor involved in the equation which is large, you're always going to end up with these huge numbers. But ultimately, we are not getting a good deal whatsoever. To compound it, it was said that there was a restriction on Viewfort being developed by the government of St. Lucia either with or without the permission of GPH. Now, this has to be untenable. Viewfort is the part of the country, if you will remember, Sir John had tried on several occasions to try to get Viewfort going. I remember vividly there was a celebration of Viewfort Day or something. I was still at school at that time. And everybody headed down to Viewfort to celebrate the, if you will, the launching of Viewfort and so. It never got off the ground. For some reason, we couldn't get Viewfort going. And now the opportunity exists when we have an airport down there to get Viewfort going. And we are being told that it was being restricted in terms of its development. That has to be a sin crying out for justice.
And Mr. Mayor, you're saying that that is part of the GPH agreement that the Viewfort port we cannot really touch that port based on that agreement. Is that something we are hearing? Is that true?
That allegation has been made and it has not been refuted by the government, because there's another aspect of the way the government conducts business. And as citizens, we need to understand that we employ the government. We employ the people to be forming in government, and they can't have secrets for us. People have got to understand it is their right to ask for information, and the government has a duty, taking certain things into consideration, to explain what people are doing. In 9 out of 10 times, we don't know what's going on. The Minister of Commerce said she was having secret discussions with GPH in respect of Soufriere. That is an insult to the people of St. Lucia, for a minister to stand in front of them and say, look, I am negotiating with somebody, but it is in secret. Now, there's this thing that, especially Hilaire is the one who does it the most. He hides behind this thing about commercial arrangements. But it's amazing how the so-called secrecy of commercial arrangements come into play. When they were in opposition, they were the ones tearing down all doors, if you will, to try to find out what is going on behind the scenes when there was nothing going on.
And those documents were being leaked to the very same actors who are now in government, once in opposition, and they just wanted, they believe that, the people's business should be out there. The people should know what is happening. But then we hear Mr. Hilaire saying, well, I got to ask the investors if I can tell you all. If they say no, basically, I guess the people will not know unless there is a leak tape somewhere in Dubai and, we get to know something. But my concern with the GPH, what is in this for the people of St. Lucia? What is in it? Have you ever seen such a deal before?
There's very little in it for St. Lucia. And another aspect of this whole arrangements, the way the government operates, is that and has been pointed out several times before, the government officials, the politicians, don't sign documents. It is the technical people in the Ministry of Finance that sign the documents. And it amazes me how they don't. I realize they work within a bureaucratic setup, and there's an expectation that they are neutral, if you will, and support the policies of the day. But there's a certain point in time at which your allegiance to the country must supersede what you think is wrong, and we're not getting that at all. And I'll give you an example of what I'm speaking to.
Talk to me.
The airport, the loan arrangements for the construction of the airport were almost complete, and I would say go far as to say about 95% complete in terms of sign-offs on everything when the government changed hands. In other words, all parties at the time concerned were happy with the arrangements, and the management of the St. Lucia and CIP Ports Authority were happy with these arrangements because they signed off. And there were lots of meetings to get the legalities in place and everything else. It is beyond me how a government comes in, puts in a partisan committee to look at the project, and the same management of the ANC Ports Authority, who fully supported what went on before, turns around now and fully supports this new arrangement, to the extent where they will criticize the original arrangement. That is beyond me. There seems to be a sort of a lack of integrity here, and certainly you have to start to handle their competence. Because if the new arrangement is indeed superior to the first. Why did they go along with the first one? And I have that problem. It happens in several instances. We do have that sort of situation. In the case of the other project you mentioned tonight, the halls of justice, it's a similar situation where the funding for that project is costing way beyond what any government borrowing should have to pay. The interest rates incorporated in the loan being taken.
Frank, can I ask you to stick a pin there? Let me just drop a little something which...
And John, you can come in anytime too, huh? June, sorry.
Which any of, many people might not be aware of. Do you know that GPH had approached the Alan Shastney government with their proposal and they were turned down? Is anybody
Yes, I've
aware
heard
of that?
Well, that's not what Mr. Healy said on one of the Reva program.
Let me
I
tell
heard
you
that. And he was challenged. He was challenged to produce, because he said that there was a document, and he was challenged to produce that document. It has yet to see the light of day.
Maybe it doesn't
But the
exist.
important thing, before I move on to the to the halls of justice, the important thing about GPH, if you remember, when GPH first came into the picture, they were listed on the London Stock Exchange. When I say listed, they were a public company, and by virtue of being a public company, there was lots of information. There was lots of information that the government of St. Lucia, and in fact, any citizen of St. Lucia could have got by simply going on the websites, because there are certain disclosures a public company has got to make. So at least we knew who owned the company or who was the majority shareholders, etc., and so on. Within 6 months of the signing of the deal with St. Lucia, GPH delisted from the London Stock Exchange, which means that the information that we could have got was no longer accessible. So we didn't have a clue what was going on. And further into the year, they sold shares they sold a significant number of shares to another party. So right now, the government of St. Lucia does not know who are the owners of GPH. It's now a private company. It's not listed, and because it's a private company, they have no access to the information of GPH. We, St. Lucia, have no information to the performance, the owners, nothing about GPH. In other words, our port now has moved from being a government-operated entity to an entity owned by shadowy people that we know absolutely nothing about. That's the state we're in.
Well, Mr. Modestus, you want to come in on that? And I saw Dr. Fletcher wanted to say something also.
Yes, I just want to continue on the point that I made. And that is testament to the wisdom of the Alan Shastney administration. GPH presented their proposal to Alan Shastney, to the Alan Shastney administration. He turned around and presented it to an entity within the government ambits for investigation. Comprehensive investigations were carried out, including visits to one or more ports run by GPH. At the end of the day, the decision was made, taking all factors into consideration, that this was not a deal to benefit St. Lucia. And it was turned down. I was very surprised when I heard Labour Party bring that up. I have a very good idea of what may have gone on, but then since I have no evidence, I will not say what I believe happened. But this is This is what happened with the first GPH proposal to the Alan Chasney administration. It was turned down because there was no benefits to St. Lucia in their proposal.
Thank you, Dr. Modestus. Dr. Fletcher. Okay, we just lose her camera there, so she
Sorry
should
if
be back. Go ahead, Doc.
just when on the halls of justice, when Mr. Um, Myers was speaking, we have seen a whole lot of subterfuge. We have seen the government deflecting. You've seen them giving us as this their modus operandi, a little bit of information here, a little bit of information there. They hold back, they twist the thing, they cover it, they paint it over. And I don't know, maybe Mr. Louis can tell me because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not too au courant with the legal things, but they claimed that the legal fraternity advised them that they did not want the halls of justice to where the Alan Chancellor administration originally wanted it.
Yeah.
Land that was free, that belonged to St. Lucia, you know, that all our cost would be is building the building on what was ours. But they didn't want it there. The lawyers complained because maybe, I don't know, maybe the prisoners would can it would be unsafe and they'll be able to shoot or maybe grab the policeman arm and shoot the lawyers or something. I don't know. But they said it was too close for the lawyers or something to that effect. Now, they said, of course, when we were trying, when the Alan Chastney opposition was telling them you can't put it there where they were putting it, it was not structurally sound to put it there. They complained and they complained and they just like the Chastney government don't want um good for St. Lucia. They're pushing, they want to stop progress. But these are the same people, every little thing the Chastney government wanted to do, they're on the streets. They demonstrating. They're on every media and medium that you can find, but they complain until the church, the church get on and they take it out. Now watch where they go to. Thank God that building burned down where the cinema was, because they take that little spot. Now I wonder if that place had not burned down, where they would have gone to. But they went there in a little spot there that cost them endless money because they have to buy it. That's your money, St. Lucian's money. They have to purchase it, that land, and our free land is sitting up there that they could have built it and put it in the heart of town where busy, where people, where we want to develop the city, where we want to open it up, where we want to bring it into the modern era of making the city better. But they put the halls of justice there. Tell me, Mr. Louis, in other countries, do they have them away from the police, or is something you as a cop try to explain that to me, because I have never been able to understand or accept that analysis. I know this government has lied a lot and they have been bluffing the people and tricking them because they think they're stupid, and of course St. Lucians remain quiet, that's why they believe that. But explain to me.
Yeah. Before you explain, Doc, Doc, you want Mr. Modestus, you want us to bring in our friend Joanne now, because I really don't want my laborant friends to get mad at me tonight. So, Joanne, please come in now. Joe.
Okay, no problem. Well, mostly, I think whatever the Labour Party does, they tend to put us deeper and deeper in debt. Everything they do is to put the country deeper in debt. So that when the United Workers' Party gets back into power, that they will have so much debt that they won't be able to do much for the country. Okay, that's always the way I see it. So this is just my take.
So you're looking at a track record from the Labour Party that they're always, whether it's Grindberg or whatever deal it is, they're always putting the country in a very bad situation.
Yes.
Very bad.
Yes.
Always. And
she's right.
I've looked at it, and every time the UWP takes St. Lucia a few steps forward, Labour Party comes in and they take us like 20 steps backward. So it's always an uphill battle every time the UWP is in office.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you,
Yes.
Joe. So let's go back to Mr. Modestus. Dr. Fletcher drop a very important question over there to you, and I hope as an ex-police officer, you can give us some guidance on this one.
Yes, Garfield, thank you very much for that. First of all, let me agree wholeheartedly with Joan and the sentiments she just expressed. Now, Dr. Fletcher, I am not an architect or anything of that sort, but that kind of explanation given that you just quoted there from the Labour Party, this could only be consigned to the rubbish heap. Now, when it comes to the halls of justice, even before we look at anything else, let us talk about Castries and the congestion. How many people will that building be expected to house in terms of, lawyers, judges, magistrates, courts,
Police,
people attending,
security.
police, yes, all of that. Where are these people going to park? Where are you going to get parking? Is it on street? Where? Anybody who has driven through Castries or attempted to drive through Castries anytime other than, a nighttime or a Sunday when nothing is happening, can very well understand the kind of chaos that is the traffic. When you put in a building taking up so much space, housing or accommodating so many people, where are they going to park? What is
Question.
going what is going to happen to traffic flow? I find it amazing. Several years ago, maybe five, maybe could be as much as 10 years ago, a private company was putting up a commercial building in the grocery area. Planning, that building had 3 floors. Planning insisted that they had to be able to provide something like 80 something parking spaces. What happened to planning? How many parking spaces are being provided for that building? As far as I'm concerned, just based on the congestion that this building would cause in Castries, it is a big no-no. This could only be the product of some kind of fevered mind, which, cannot plausibly string an argument together. How could anyone want to put up such a building? And Dr. Fletcher, you talk about, these lawyers. This, as far as I'm concerned, is absolute bunk. A building like that, in my humble opinion, should go up in an area by itself. You see, just the same way the OKEU was built in that location, and so there is enough parking and everything, and there is room, if necessary, to expand the hospital. That's where you go. We have such locations. But this thing about, lawyers being afraid and so on, that is nonsense. That is absolute nonsense. Whatever build, you're building halls of justice, there would be adequate provisions made for security, regardless of where you put it. So if anybody really came out and say something like that, this person, I don't know, sorry about it, but this person is sick
Yeah, I would
or
love.
lying.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Modestas. I would like to hear from Mr. Myers concerning the figures that we're hearing when it comes to the halls of justice. And I know that the viewers want us to touch back, go back over to the whole GPH discussion. I know people are confused about that, and like Mr. Myers said, the more you discuss it, sometimes it's the more people, sometimes we get even more confused. But I want us to keep discussing it because most St. Lucians don't know what's in the deal. The people of Soufriere don't know. It was a private conversation, as the rep said. Viewport, we are still speculating on the port there, whether it can be developed or not, whether we can touch it or not. But I want us to look at the figures concerning. I'm hearing that there are $14 million that the government had to come up with to secure the land, the property where they're going to be moving the halls of justice. And Mr. Frank, would you not say that, they should have gone back to the original spot that was already there with no problem?
Of it. Under the previous government, the halls of the facility which was being planned for the top of Bridge Street, which would hold some courts and some holding cells, etc. This project would have been funded via the National Insurance Corporation. Namely, the NIC would have made a loan to NIPRO, which is the property management arm of the NIC, and NIPRO would have done the actual construction of the facility. As part of the assessment of the entire project, we did have some discussions in terms of this concept of the judiciary and the police working in proximity to each other. And we did some research globally. We spoke to a lot of people, to the extent, if I recall, we touched base with one or two people in Canada, in the US, in the UK, and at no time was there any established procedure as to the separation of the judiciary and the police. In fact, there were several facilities which we found operated in such a manner, and there was absolutely no issues with it. Further, I do not recall any objection coming from the legal profession in terms of the of this kind of, if you will, proximity of these two arms of the legal framework. So that statement was rather it was a fabricated statement, as people normally do when they want to do things. They find someone to come up with something, but this made absolutely no sense based on the facts. Now, in terms of the financing of this project, if I recall again, the previous project was probably going to come in like about $140 million, I think. No, even less than that. It was going to come in even less than that, significantly less. But this particular project, it was, I think, $160 million to build a facility and fit it out with equipment, etc., and so on. And then, since the entire thing was being funded by the contractor, they made arrangements to get the funding from a bank in Trinidad at a rate of 10.5%. So the interest that would have been paid over the 12 or the 15 years of the loan was about $140,000 million, making the cost of that project $292 million. And this would have to be paid off over the next 10 or 12 years. And like I say, this thing incorporated an interest rate of 10%. Now, if the government of St. Lucia is taking over the facility at the end of the period, this is equivalent to a guarantee to any bank that is looking to fund that project. And if a government effectively guarantees a loan, 10.5% is way too much to be being paid. I would have expected them to have used the same facility that the previous government was going to use, in that allow the NIPRO to borrow the funds from the NIC at a much more favorable rate of about 7%. And in so doing, they would have reduced the cost of that facility by about $50 million. Now, one of the complaints I hear from average people on the street, they come to me all the time and says, all those large sums of money, what does it mean? And perhaps this is where Joanna can come in. Because that $50 million can do a lot for us in terms of funding the hospital, medicines in the hospitals, funding roads, buying cars for the police, all those things that matter to the smaller communities. That $50 million could have gone in there, right? That it could easily have gone in there. And that is the connection we have with the large sums of monies we see going out in these projects and the rest of the country. The roads are a mess. What do we have to do? We have to borrow. When we borrow, we've got to pay back. Our children are paying this thing back. So the more we can, if you will, run an efficient government, which is what we need in these parts of the world, efficiency in government, then we don't have to borrow and tie up the future generations with having to pay back. We can get our hospitals, we can get our schools, we can make sure the police is properly equipped, we can make sure the children can go to school, we can get health care. That is the benefit in running efficient government. And from what I'm seeing here, we have far from efficient government. And these two projects, the halls of justice and the GPH deal, is a classic case of the misdirection of funds. To compound it, there's a total secrecy. That seems to be the big thing of the day for the government. I remember Philip Pierre one time saying, look, no more questions. He was talking about the BMAX thing at Rockall. No more questions. You can't do that as a government. You have to answer to people. How are you doing these things? Because we, in the end, will be paying for it. And that is the problem with where we are today. They don't want to account for what they're doing, and they expect people to just walk away and say, the government is in charge. They're doing it. People must understand. And again, I have to point to Joanna because she comes from a small community. And in fact, she comes from a community that has voted for how many years for the Labour Party? For X number of years.
I'm going to bring it in now after Dr. Fletcher.
They have nothing to show for it. That is what we're talking about. Those monies can go evenly right across the country instead of being concentrated in one particular area. The question to be asked now, why are the technocrats in the public service going along with what does not make sense? That's the question I would like to ask.
Right, and we await the answer. Dr. Fletcher, you can come in now, and then we go over to Joan. I really want to hear from her again. Dr. Fletcher.
Well, actually, I was really going to speak to her, saying, sister to sister. You see, he's asking that question of the technocrats.
Yeah.
But you and I, all of us here, Joanna, we are feeling, we may be a little better off. I may be there a little better off than some of the people. We are feeling it at the supermarkets. We are feeling it, and when we go take our children to the doctors, and when we go for ourselves. We are feeling it when we have to buy gas. We are feeling it when we even have to go by the market to buy food. We are feeling it. Yeah, we are feeling it when we pay our bills. We are feeling it when we look that we can't. Nobody can tell me that they're saving as much as they used to before, that they're saving so much now. Nobody, because, well, I don't know, I cannot imagine. You cannot go out and, I mean, okay, people like us, probably we used to go out to dinners and so on, two, 3 times a month. We can't, this is really just not able to do. Yet, it is not just the public service and the public servants and technocrats. Why is it that the little man, and they are in the majority, okay, the below the line people are in the majority, and yet they hear Alan Chasney, Guy Joseph, Dominic Fede, Spider, Herod Bradley come on day in, day out, week in, week out. All the other hosts like Garfield and Coach and the whole lot of them come on and talk champagne. They all say what's going on, what the government have been doing. Then the government comes with the spin and the spin. They keep blaming Alan Chastney for everything since he has never committed, didn't even know about, never hoped to commit. They blame him. They pretend as if UWP is the one that has been in St. Lucia, running St. Lucia from 1997 to 2016, and not understanding that whatever you see the state of the country is in right now, the St. Lucia Labour Party was in from 1997 to 2006. They came in again from 2011 to 2016. Alan Chastney was only in from 16 to 21, and he had COVID during that time. They lie and say there is no money. He brought the money. He spent the money. He squandered the money. He did this. He did that. The solutions are where you give them. You tell them. You don't have to have degrees to be intelligent. Intelligence was there before books. And yet, Joanna, why is it that those people in your communities that are suffering, that are feeling it, that they have politicians have them to come and say, where is my mother used to always say these things, unipuni logay. Usa, upani la jamais unipuni logay. I can't be begging people and have people giving me little handout. I want to have for myself. These people are hearing all of that. And yet, when the call comes that you stand up, you speak up, even if you're not the type that can call radio shows and TV shows, and you can't write on Facebook and write on your phone and so on. But when the call comes to demonstrate, you've seen all other little countries, the people come up in large numbers to talk against what's saying. The government, I would think that they have a right to say things are great, things are good, the government is doing well, because the people are silent. Joanna, why would people in your community, that in the below the belt community, below the line, why are they so silent and they're suffering?
Well, what I can say about that is they are afraid of being victimized. The people in the communities, like my community, for instance, I was victimized, and they are afraid of being victimized. But the thing is, you have to be strong. Maybe you don't have a voice. Go to someone that could give you a voice. When you need something, you shouldn't go to your parliamentarian and say, my rep, I don't have gas, or you must ask your rep for something more than a handout. Put things in place where you can have a job, where you can go every morning, you get up, you go and make that daily bread. In a nutshell, give these people a line to fish instead of giving them a fish every day. Okay, make these people, let them be proud of themselves, because right now I see we as Lucians, we are losing our pride. Because if you have to go to a rep for a tank of gas, everything is a handout. Where is your pride? Okay, I know they say charity begins at home, but come on, we are not crippled. We can work. So give us work so we can work. Give us something better. Fix our roads, give it a recreation centers, anything, especially the use of library. I see in my community, so many of them are just there. They are not doing anything. They have nothing to do on a daily basis. They have nowhere to go. What do they do? Just sit around, stand around, doing nothing. As a rep, the first thing you should look at is what your people need, the needs of your people. But as far back as I can remember, it looks like my community has not changed over I cannot even say how long, but I can say one thing. I need to see some changes in library. I need to see the use of library doing better. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. I would like to see a better library for my children, my grandchildren, and better representation. Because people think we have good representation right now. Some people think so, but I don't think so. Because the first thing you have to care about is your people. Okay? Not a few. You get 2 friends, 3 friends, 5, 8, they are up there. And the rest is just down there. There are parents that doesn't even have a meal to put on the table every day, right here in St. Lucia. Yet we are jumping up and down like everything is okie dory. It's not. Okay? We are making a big mistake thinking things is all right, but they are not. Why are everybody sitting around and not saying anything? Why they not saying anything? We want to know why they not saying anything. So what I do, I try and speak to people. I ask questions. I help. I encourage them to talk. I want to know what's eating you, what's hurting you, what is good for you, what is not good for you. I talk to people and I get answers. I ask questions, I get answers. And the answers some of you would not want to know it. Honestly, you wouldn't want to know because it's not good. Things are not good, not just in library, okay? Around St. Lucia. I go around different places. I have a lot of friends. I go, it's not good. People their needs are not being met, okay? Well, a few, their needs are being met, just a chosen few, but the majority is suffering, okay?
Well,
Wow,
if
thank
they
you
are
so much. I'm
suffering,
sitting. Go ahead, Doc.
if they are suffering, Garfield, if they are suffering, my colleagues, if people are feeling it, really feeling it, why, when a call comes to show the government, because the power is in the hands of the people, you have the strength to get up from your bed, to go and stand up on a long line to vote and put a government in, and you have the strength to come out and stand up when you have those that are going to be your voice going to be in front. So if they fire the what you call those bullets that don't kill but they the rubber bullets, they will get it before you. You don't have the strength to stand up behind them in your numbers that can show the government that what they are doing is wrong. The government is standing up and they feel that they are right, they are arrogant, they are boastful, they are conceited in what they're doing because the populace that has the power says absolutely nothing about that. And all you hear is the United Workers' Party supporters and opposition that keep speaking and highlighting day in, day out what the government is doing, bringing out the numbers, bringing out the figures, telling you the things over and over again. This has not been an opposition of Roro and Brabra and demonstrations and for nothing and beating pants and all. They come out, they give you the facts, they have the lives, they tell you, they're there everywhere, put in the figures, they show you the facts, and yet the government will come in the next day and say they lie. That's not true. We're doing good. The country is doing well. We have the best economy. We will take care of everything. And they have no COVID. They have no epidemic that I know of. Not even a natural disaster. We have got, thank God for that. We have nothing like that. Yet it's only now they want to do this, that, when we have been beaten and calling and crying and sounding the clarion for the longest while of what should be done, what can and couldn't be done. And they would come, this government is going to stay. You're not good. I always say, I will never take a fat cat, a skinny, hungry cat to watch my cheese. The cat is well fed. You can put it there to watch your cheese or your fish. The United Workers Party team that is there, they have already the achievers. So why should you not listen to them telling you, I can show you how to become like me? But you want the people that take from you and make themselves fat. and you are there begging and you're not standing up with the people that are helping you, somehow this does not translate to me. I don't know if you colleagues can explain it to me. I sometimes get very frustrated and fed up with my people because I feel they're suffering, yet they seem not to care for themselves.
Yeah, thank you so much. So let's get this. And I understand what Joan and Dr. Fletcher is saying. The people in these communities are feeling the squeeze, and again, it has a lot to do with mismanagement, bad management, lack of accountability, wastage, and we go back to the halls of justice, and I believe. We will be surprised when we
Yes,
get the final figures. The government right now, they're
yes,
quiet about the
Garfield.
deal. Let me just put you on.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah,
unmute?
Garfield. Just
Go ahead.
am I muted?
No, you're on now. You're good. Go ahead.
Yes.
And then
Ju-
Mr. Frank will come
just
back.
before you get back to the halls of justice, Dr. Fletcher, both Dr. Fletcher and Jude
Mm.
touched indirectly on just what I mentioned a little earlier.
Earlier, yes.
Do you do you remember when I spoke about Dr. Anthony being the cause and the start of the political tribalism?
Yes.
This is what we have in St. Lucia. This is the result where people are seeing it more important to support a political party, even one that is gouging out their very eyes, than to stand up and speak out for something that will be better for all of us. That's that is what it does. That is the effect of that kind of tribalism. And this was done with the massa mindset. So you get people to hate their neighbors, the people, their relatives, those who were their former friends, just so that they will continue supporting you. And what are you doing for them? All you are doing is lording it over them. Every now and then, you scatter a bit of corn, like when you have fowls in the yard. Well, when used to, that you don't get so much of that now, but at the time I grew up, you have fowls, and at some time point in the day, you call them and you scatter some corn or coconut, whatever. And that is what they do. Every so often, you get a little step. You get a whole bunch of people, three of them pulling some grass and some rakes and so on, give them some money in their pockets, and that's it. That is indignity. That is an insult to people. you know what are people going to do between that and the next step? That is horrible, and that is the situation that the Labour Party has perpetuated on the people of St. Lucia, destroying the society. That is it. But sorry, over to you, Frank,
No, no, no.
because
It makes
I
sense.
just
I mean, I want to hear, how the
yeah,
people are feeling, and Joan and Dr.
yeah,
Fletcher. I mean, they open a door there, and I believe that there are thousands of St. Lucians who can share in in what they're saying. But let's go back to Mr. Frank, concerning I'm concerned about the finance, because there will be a lot of waste. We look at the St. Jude's Hospital, and we are still
okay.
building, we are still spending, and it seems like there is no financial end in sight. And I believe the national debt should be in the billions of dollars. And in that billions, I am sure that there are millions of dollars in wastage. Mr. Frank. Sorry about that. Your audio is off. Go ahead. You're good now.
The St. Jude's Hospital is a classic case of gross mismanagement, incompetence, just name it. This thing has been going on for how many years now? And we don't even see the end of it. And now we're seeing the end of it. We are being told that it'll be finished irrespective of the cost. I don't think that we were ever told beforehand how much it's going to cost to finish this off. And then you know what's going to happen? We are going to be saddled with a bill from the contractor, which he will indicate it is his legal right to that. And even if the government were to fall, that government will be in courts with that contractor for some ridiculous bill. And we're back to square one again, more problems again. I think one of the issues we have here, and I keep coming across it all the time, is we talk about these large numbers, hoping that people will appreciate these large numbers. But what I've discovered is that it's beyond people's imagination. They cannot wrap their brain around it. And because of that now, the people who are hoodwinking them are finding it easy to say that these guys don't know what they're saying. So it's up to us now, or at least people who are interested, I should say, to find a way to communicate with people that truly you are on their side. Although their side is going to take a little bit longer, but they have to understand in the end that you can't be operating on getting scraps once every 5 years, if you will. I mean, look at the state of the roads. Out there, we borrowed, and I'm looking at the Minister of Infrastructure speaking. We were given a grant of about $47 million to build this Millennium Highway. $47 million. They got that money about 2 years before the end of the previous administration. We are now coming to the end of this current administration, and this road is nowhere near complete.
So, Mr. Frank, you're saying the Millennium Highway is still not completed?
It's not complete. And even in the sections which they have done, I expect it to start to erode in about 6 to 9 months. It's nowhere complete, and it's a lot of money. And in the end, this one, in this particular case, it was a grant. But it is scandalous. When that road started, they put up a sign down by Bannon Bay, by the roundabout, saying what project it was, who financed it, etc., expected commencement dates, expected completion dates. That sign was removed a long time ago because of the embarrassment of having gone way past the expected completion date. And that is the problem for our country. We have no concept of efficiency. We have no concept of driving people to do what they should be doing. We have the average man in the street does not see it is his business to find out when a minister leaves the island. He must know where the minister is going. He must know what the minister is doing. When he comes back, the minister should be reporting. People don't see that as their business, but it is. And we have to, once you can get people to think that way, they start to understand that they have responsibilities as citizens, but these guys have responsibilities as ministers. And their responsibility is to efficiently manage the limited resources we have. It is your right to ask the question. And the press has got to take a significant amount of blame for what's going on in the country now. The press behaves like an extension of the information machinery of the government. They ask the questions that they are told to ask. They never give balanced stories. They never come to an interview and have opposing viewpoints. They give you the government's point of view. They will give you the other side, but the other side will come 2 weeks later, and the first view they get is usually the one they stick with. The press has a tremendous blame to take for what's going on in the country at the moment. And again, they have their responsibility. Tell the nation exactly what is going on. Do not stand up in front of me and say something has happened and the minister cleared the air. No minister ever clears the air. The minister gives his side of the story. People must learn to understand that. They must learn to question everything. That is your right. your responsibility as a citizen. And these people are being taken advantage of by these educated ones that we currently have in the seat of power. It's literally lavantage. That's the only way I can put it. And it's our job. We who know what's happening and who have an interest in seeing the country go a different direction to speak out about it. I was in a supermarket the other day, and I think that's when it really hit me as to what's happening out there. A lady walks up to me, I don't know her, and she says, "The Mister, sponsor me for a bottle of peanut butter."
What?
I don't know the lady. Sponsor me for a bottle of peanut
That's
butter.
desperation.
And that is what you call, no citizen should ever reach that stage.
No.
No citizen should ever reach. This is where we're at. And it's going to be difficult to get people who have been beaten down all these years to change overnight. There's something called the Stockholm Syndrome, and some of you might be aware of it. And it's the Stockholm Syndrome is such, I think it originated in the city of Stockholm, where somebody was brutalizing some person immensely. Eventually, when the police got to her, she was defending the person who was brutalizing her. She'd been beaten up so badly, she was sympathizing with the person who was doing her the
Oh my
cruelty.
God.
This is what we see in St. Lucia a lot. So we have to be a little bit patient with people, as Joanne was explaining there. We have to take our time, explain to the people why we're doing what we're doing. And the other thing we've got to do is to think just like Singapore, for example. Think for the future. We have to think about our children, our children's children. I was listening to a guy on one of the talk show programs recently, and it stunned me. Back in 71, St. Lucia's GDP per capita was about 470 US dollars. Singapore's GDP per capita was about 680 US dollars. Right? That's back in 71. As of 2024, St. Lucia's estimated GDP per capita was 14,000 US dollars. Singapore was 90. Now, agreed upon, we're talking about this different cultures, different people, different governments, etc., and so on. But it shows you what can be done. We don't have to reach 90. Why not 45? Because over the years, we've had so much wastage.
Yeah.
We've had, every time a government changes, first thing, these guys are in there only for 5 years as far as we're aware. Unless they do exceedingly well, then perhaps it becomes 10.
Yeah.
All the old furniture goes out and new furniture comes in. It's not their money. Which CEO, which owner of a company changes furniture when the existing furniture is good enough? Out it goes, in it comes.
Wow.
We have
I
got
didn't know
to-
that,
we
Mr.
have
Frank.
got- We've got to talk about this in this country. I remember coming across a website. I think the country was Slovenia or someplace. And what they had done, they had computerized they had a computer system so that every citizen had access to every single contract undertaken by the government at any one point in time. And in that website, you could see the day the invitation to tender came in, the date when it's closed. You could see all the people who tendered. You see all the considerations. You know who had the job and at what cost they got the job. And to compound it, you could follow those projects as they went through to see stage of completion, when it is not being done. Absolute transparency. And this was done by research by one of the large accounting bodies, right? And that government in the first year, when they implemented that system, the savings was in the billions. And I suggested that a long time ago. We've got to go that route in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, we have about 17, 18% of all government expenditure is stolen. 17, 18% is stolen. That is from research. There's a lot that can be done. And the people who should speak about these things should be speaking out about it. When last have we seen government accounts? When has the Auditor General reported on the accounts of St. Lucia? We don't know. It's probably about 10 years in arrears. We don't know. So it's no surprise that Hilaire refuses to provide the reports on the CIP. Because one thing people do when they don't want to face up or accept what they've done is hide the information. I went on the website the other day for CIP. He was there last year reporting on after the fact for the 2022 numbers, right? The 2023 numbers are not there. The audit report for 2022-23 is not there. And the 2024 was due at the end of October last year. It's not there. And people are saying nothing. But interestingly enough, when I was at the NIC, when COVID started, and we were having all kind of problems trying to get the financial statements out. And I'll never forget, they stood in the Senate, and they tore us to shreds. They tore us to shreds because we did not get the financial statements out of the NIC.
What?
Even ignoring the fact, by so doing, they were sending a signal to the international community that here is a significant entity and we don't have things under control. And the story was far from that, but it suited them to do at this particular point in time. It suited them. And I am reasonably certain if you go on the NIC's website now, you may find it slightly in the res, but nobody's talking about it. People are using information how they want. And we need to get people to change that. Face up to your responsibilities. Use the money. It should be efficiency in government, value for money. This is the problem in this country here. So we will always be missing medicines at the hospitals. We'll always be missing school books for children, computers and things. Even our education system has got to change. And that ties in because our youngsters are not being taught to think critically and to question things. That is one of the issues. Even older people don't question. Government says that. The government has said that. Because the government said it, it's on TV, it is true. You have a right to question every single thing. Our children have gotten, we are past the stage where we learn by rote. People have got to learn to reason things out, critical thinking. That's what we need. It's all linked in. It's a mammoth job. And we're not going to have it when you have a situation where one set of people are creaming the cream of the top of the milk. It's not going to happen. We have to speak out to the extent that people will dislike you. But if you have a love for your country, the love for what's happening around you, an appreciation of the sacrifices your people who came before you made, you have a duty to speak out. And this is where we are. Enough people are not speaking out. So we will always have the stuff we have in here.
That's true. Dr. Fletcher, I see you raise your hand and then we'll come back now. Go ahead. Okay.
Garfield, I want to add to that, and I want to say all these are brilliant. All these coming from Frank are wonderful ideas, and many times I've heard our political leader, Mr. Shatner, put down certain things, and that's the things they would want to do. But what is the first thing that has to happen? And I always ask, does the Labour Party work that hard? Because our solutions are a unique brand of people. Because it seems that they don't care about how much suffering, that they don't care that the government is mismanaging, that they don't care that people are getting wealthy. They don't care. And I'm hearing the feedback now that I heard Joel and them speak about it. I feel so I don't know why. I'm hearing the
It's
feedback
it's
now.
okay. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
They don't care where anything is coming from, what is happening, because you can speak it. Because if these things mattered, the Labour Party would never win. The Labour Party have created so many egregious things in just this short 4 years that they've been there, that in any other country, that government would be out of power. Yet in this country, for some reason now, people go about their daily business, don't care. They don't care how much you talk about it, how much you say the government is not doing good. And I'm talking about the average citizen, which is our majority. They are not interested in thinking for themselves. They're only interested in what they hear the government put there. And when the government officials pass by their home and give them a handout and take care of an immediate need, microwave, instant. I need some groceries, they bring it for them. I need to pay an electricity bill, they get it. I need to, these are the things, our unfortunately, the way I'm seeing our people and the average, which is the majority, they are instant gratification people. So they don't think about their children, their grandchildren. They don't think about the future development. They're not too concerned about where their country is placed on the world scene, how it is looked at. They are concerned with the yes, the here and now. And I think that to me, that message, that changing, that is what I saw so John tried to do with them. That is why he would stand up and say, you can put a gun to my head. He would not move to please you if it's not going to benefit the country and the future development of this country. Somehow, we have to find a way to reach those people of that average, above and below average level people who are our majority, to get them to understand, to bring up that thing in them, that you cannot let this go on because this is where you're going to stay. No development. Your country is still looking like the dark ages. You in a constituency that still look like the dark ages. You have to think about your children, your future. You can't have a government if they come and take care of you instantly. You cannot have them leading over you and taking advantage of you when you can get better and do better for yourself. You have to give them that vision, and it takes it. If it has to take the few of us that can talk, that can fight, we need to get on the ground and go out to them. Ek di yo kwehol, di yo manye yo kan soufe, di yo pas ni pou espere pou chop chakle an moun kay vini pe a like bill ek a bill glow ba yo, ou achete titak komisyon ba ou vle an gouvernement ki sa fe bagay pou manye ou ka sa fe bagay pou kite bay se issue ek ti issue. C'est ça ou ni pour parler ba se moun sa aller assise puis yo aller bo kay we parler ba yo sou pas ça parler ba se moun sa ou ça dit ça ou vle yo pa kay we puis yo ni un gouvernement qui ka aller bo kay yo e ka ba yo ti tak l'argent chakle et c'est ça yon yo ka we et yo kay mette yo viwe ou ni pour aller la kay yo puis regarder pour 4 années bagay UWP sa ha di ek moutwe yo bagay SLP ha fe ek se moun nan ka weste mom yo pa ka di ye. So si zot vle a bagay fet, zot ni pou ale an didan a bagay ek chanje l'ide simpliste ek baka wey kay fet takay fe takay a job ki kay eze. Then you need to try.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. I know we're approaching the 10 o'clock hour. John, you wanted to come in? We're going to open the lines, 929-586-1821. We'll take at least 2 or 3 calls before we call it tonight. We have not touched on healthcare, on CIP, and a number of major discussions. But I am telling you, it is a lot. The GPH, the halls of justice, that's alone. It is a whole lot of debate, friends, and the economic challenges that families are facing. I'm telling you, one night would not cut it at all. 929-586-1821. 929-586-1821. And I'm going to let Joanne come in now. Joan, sorry?
Yeah. Yeah, Joan. It's Joan. It's just Joanne. It's
Joan, yeah.
As you said, we haven't touched on healthcare, and it's one of my concerns. I'm very concerned with the healthcare, especially the St. Jude's Hospital. I have questions. I need answers. I want to know what is being done. The way forward, the healthcare in St. Lucia is bad. I know. But you see, St. Jude's, we don't have proper healthcare. I understand that. But you see, St. Jude's Hospital, I want to know more about it. And we are not hearing enough. We don't have enough information concerning the St. Jude's Hospital. And my question to them, they said they're going to finish that hospital. I would be very happy to see that. But at the same time, will they equip that hospital so that as soon as they finish, they will have enough equipment to open the hospital. That's one of the questions I have, because we have been struggling for 14 years now, okay? And the stadium is not a hospital. The stadium is a stadium. It's not a hospital. So that's one of my main concerns. This is this St. Jude's Hospital.
But what are you hearing? What are you hearing on the ground from the people that you interact with concerning the hospital or healthcare on the whole?
To be honest, a few have their opinion, and a few things it will not be finished. A few things will be finished, but it will not be opened. Everybody have a different opinion. But what I'm feeling, I'm getting the fact that some people doesn't believe it will finish anymore. Like they have no confidence that they will get St. Jude's in the near future. Everybody thinks that St. Jude's will keep, keep being a political football. That's what we think.
Wow. Thank you so much, Joan. While we wait for our calls, anyone wants to touch on?
Yes.
Go ahead, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a call coming in now. Yeah. Let's see if we can take this call. Caller, you on the air, Caribbean American News Media Platform.
Good afternoon, Brother Garfield, and good afternoon to all your guests.
Good afternoon,
good evening,
sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have to say, very, very good show tonight. Very informative. Frank, I have to agree with you on a lot of the things you mentioned concerning the transparency of government and the wastage of government. But there's something brewing in the horizon, and I hope you guys are paying attention, because it got stopped, and it's going to be another St. Jude. To all those that are concerned, St. Jude took what, 14 years or something to that extent?
I believe 14.
So,
yeah.
No, 16.
Sorry?
2000.
I believe
2009.
it is 14.
We're getting an echo right now.
Okay. Are you still getting the echo?
No, it's better now.
Okay,
Thank
go
you.
ahead. Yeah.
So the thing that is coming up again, and pay attention, the Labour Party has stopped it, because this is going to be the next thing that they're going to run on when they get out of office. Remember, I didn't say if, but when they get out of office. And that is the HIA airport. This is going to be the next political football, because already it is too big. And they stopped it and nothing is happening. So we are up for another huge ride with our taxpayers' dollars if we, the people, do not stop for a minute and think of what is happening by these politicians. Because I'm telling you, if we had taken a stand against those guys from the time they started with what's the one on the highway there? The hospital on the highway, Millennium Highway.
Millennium Heights?
No,
OKEU?
OKU. You see, this hospital, if you guys can remember, these guys did a complete opening, naming or whatever, naming ceremony, and this hospital got shut down after the naming ceremony. Never opened. Dates after that, never opened. Then UWP under Shashney, many years later, that hospital got opened, right? Because COVID, it had to get opened.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm telling you guys, pay attention to what is happening. This Labour Party and all those before it, every time they come in, they destroy something. They always destroy something of the country to run on it. It started in 97 by Kenny Anthony with 96, with the banana industry. So I'm putting St. Lucians on notice. Pay attention, because our our airport is going to be the next political football. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, caller. Thank you so much. I think Mr. Frank, you wanted to, sorry, Mr. Modestus, you wanted to come in.
Yes, my concern
I believe you're
with the
muted.
St.
Oh, no.
My,
Go ahead.
no.
My fault.
I was saying my concern with the St. Jude's Hospital, I have not been to the site, but based on what I am hearing about the various buildings, can this building ever receive what is the proper word? Is it accreditation as a hospital?
Okay. Frank, you want to come in on an answer?
That's not my field, but the question is a valid one.
Dr. Fletcher, I mean, all of us, it is a question that we're hearing out there.
Because I'm hearing about, improper ventilation, the piping and the sewage and all kind, even the electrical wiring. So can this ever be recognized? Now, I don't know the proper word in that instance, but it would have to be something along the lines of accreditation.
Accreditation, yeah.
Yeah, something along those lines. But can this building or collection of buildings ever be validated as a proper hospital? Having the international airport near there, are we going to have an institution that is going to give confidence to tour operators and what have you, investors even, that there can be proper care dispensed? And that is my concern.
Well, Mr. Modestus, as you questioning, I am reading from one of our viewers, and it is subject to correction, that the OKEU has not been accredited either.
Oh, really?
That's what I am reading here.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that we can get some
at some point,
clarity on that, on the OKEU. I'm sure the Labour Party folks are listening, and they would make a statement or make some corrections to this. Go ahead.
Garfield, sorry to burst your bubble. Listen.
Burst it, please.
I do not believe anything these guys say. The Labour Party has proven, and everyone on this panel and everyone listening to me now can testify to that. They have proven that they are very economical when it comes to the truth, except where it serves their purposes. Very economical with the truth. It means they use as little of the truth as possible. In other words, to put it in our St. Lucian parlance, Yukamati.
Yukamati. Now, okay. as you said that, Mr. Modestus, I was trying to follow the news today. I was in the class, but in and out. And there was a report that concerning the workers that got their payments reduced, and then the owners are saying to them, well, the government supports us. And then we saw Mr. Healy coming out and saying, well, the owners said that you guys were not what you said you were not builders and masons and whatever it is, and so we had to move your monies from I believe 170 or 180 to $100. And then the guys came out and they said the minister got to apologize. So it is not far from what you're saying, my friend. Caribbean American News Media Platform. Caller, you're on the air. I think I recognize the picture. It's a beautiful picture, by the way.
Hi. Good evening, Pastor Gaffel.
Evening, my honorable friend.
Good evening to your panelist, John. John. This is one of my my constituents.
Yeah.
She's a woman who, oh yes, she's a woman who is never afraid to stand up. She's never one just to stand up and be shy, to shy away from the things that matter to her.
Yep.
You know, and she's a bold woman who will stand up to our rep and state as it is. You know, and give her opinion regardless of how supporters of the St. Lucia Labour Party will try to vilify her. She's not one to be shy, and I'm glad she spoke about. She touched on the healthcare situation, and despite everything that we've discussed there this evening and some of the shocking point of views that Mr. Myers has pointed out to us, you know, I myself, even as an aspiring, and I don't like the word politician ascribed to me because I am not a politician. I say that all the time. I am not a politician. I am a woman who cares.
Well, soon to be politician.
Well, not the kinds of politicians that some of the politicians that we have and the victimization that they subject our residents and our citizens to. You know, I'm a woman who cares. I'm a woman who has had enough. I'm a woman who has, in all of my life, can say categorically that my constituency has not changed. And if there's one thing I can agree with our district rep on is that the constituency hasn't changed. In 50 years, life has remained the same. It has remained the same. And we cannot beat our chest and say we have rehabilitated a road as our district rep, earlier this year, tried to make it seem like just because he opened the Majomel Road that, it accomplished something. It is our right. It is our right to get roads that connect us to people, roads that connect us to industry. This is our right, and this is your duty. This is your duty as the representative for Labrie Auger to provide us with this. But I'm not surprised. I am not surprised because these were the same men who said we don't eat roads. The people, not roads the people want, and then proceeded to open up the country prematurely and killed 500 people, and what is most disheartening for us in Labrie, St. Jude is located at Auger. So that means St. Jude is under our purview as in the constituency of Labrie Auger. And we are not hearing anything from our district rep. Not a word about St. Jude. He is also the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I cannot recall this man ever coming back to St. Lucia and say, listen, I have brought this sort of investment in for St. Lucia or even the people of Labrie and Auger, and it's very disheartening. I walked the Auger community on Sunday, and let me tell you something. I'm getting all emotional all over again. The things that I saw, the atrocities, the conditions of the roads that the people have to traverse. I met a woman, a young mother, whose house collapsed, crumbled around her during pouring rain, with her entire family in there. And she says to me, you know what, Miss, I almost lost my last child. If my son had not been able to grab that child out from that structure, I would have lost my last child. And one of the residents of that house was heavily pregnant at the time. And when she's asking for help, she's being told, you are young, you can work. Come on. You are young, you can work. And this is a woman whose house was entire structure. And I saw so many other, like, sisters just waiting to crumble. And people are living in conditions where they don't have internal plumbing. These are some of the issues that are so concerning, that are so important to the constituency, and we're beating our chest and saying we opened a road, and there are so many more roads, that need rehabilitation. My God, is that kind of representation that we continue year after year to vote for? Almost 20 years of representation, and you want to say you're a community man? Come on, we can do better than that. We can do better than that. And I want to implore every Lamborian, every Algerian, listen, this election coming up is not for fun. It is not games. If you are okay, open your eyes and see your neighbors. Gardez voisinage, gardez voisins, gardez gens, gardez famille. It's not just about us. It's not just about us. Some of us are okay, yes. But how can we sleep well at night knowing that there are others? And then you have a contractor at the hospital saying cost doesn't matter. We want the hospital. We want it. We need it. Wow. But cost matters. Why does cost matter? Because who is going to pay the bill? It's like you, Pastor Gaffel, having a child or having children, and living la vida loca and just spending wildly and say, you know what? They make I wear pukoi. And then tomorrow you fall ill. Tomorrow you are an invalid. Tomorrow you can't do anything for yourself. And the cost of your wildlife, your children and their children have to pay for it. Is that the legacy you want to leave behind? And this is the legacy that the Central Labour Party is leaving behind for us, the citizens. Wild spending with wild abandon, getting into loans that they have no business getting into loans for, selling our ports of entry and exit, doing all sorts of crazy things with wild abandon. You're having men who are supposed to be representing us and taking care of us as citizens, vilifying us, denigrating us as women. And then we have women sitting around the table accepting that and saying it is okay. Let me tell you something. If you say nothing, you are complicit. And this is one of the reasons I do not touch on the Kenny Anthony saga, because it is so disgusting. There's so much. You cannot even begin to open your mind. Any man, any woman who sits around the table says nothing, while others are destroying the country that they say that they love, is complicit.
Yep.
It's complicit. It's called collective agreement. You are agreeing even if you are not saying anything, Even if you're not saying anything, then Lucia, wake up, open your eyes.
Yep.
Too many things are going wrong in this country. And then it's our children and our children's children and their children who will be paying for it. This is not the legacy that we want to leave for the future generation. And I'm imploring the young people, do not say, I have not benefited anything from government. It is not what politicians, men and women, can put in your hand. It's not when they pay your house rent. It's not when they buy you a tank of gas. What you need is gainful employment, investment in yourself, so that you can make a difference in your life and in the lives of your family. That is what you want. Today they give you $500. By the end of the day, by the time they turn it back, that $500 is finished. But what about the future? What about the $300 billion that they borrowed to fix a structure that will not meet the needs of the people in 5 years, 10 years? These are some of the things. Open your eyes, young people. I'm begging you, open your eyes. Open your eyes. Start listening. Start paying attention. Because in 10 years' time, it will be too late. Now is the time to plant the seed of investment. Now is the time to say, I want better, not for my parents, but but for myself and my future generation.
Amen. Thank you.
So,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. I heard your passion. I felt it. That was Miss Japere, who is running for Labry. We wish her all the best. Folks, we got to end the show. We're not going to take any more calls. I'm going to make the rounds. We're going to ask our panelists to have their closing thoughts. Maybe they can. We can start with the ladies, gentlemen. Can we be nice? Can we do that?
Sure.
Of course, these are gentlemen here, folks. All right. So we will start with. Let's start with Joanne, and then we will go to Dr. Fletcher. Closing points, and then we will send the people to rest and to just meditate and reflect on what was said here tonight. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I want to speak directly to Labri, Ogier, Bas-Lagoas, and the surrounding areas. In fact, my constituency. Tonight, I'm pleading with you people. Do the right thing. Vote for better. We want to see better for Labri, especially for the younger generation. But most of all, Labri as a whole. Okay? So tonight I will say, boss we se mona, changer zot ni pou sorti dehors aller vote lele ya. Parce que nous brise vote là pour faire primaire, bay labori et puis bay simplicity. Tout le monde boss we.
And thank you for the Creole there. Merci beaucoup, madame. All right, Dr. Fletcher.
I just want to say to all my people of St. Lucia, I am a political activist. I believe in going out there, being on the ground. I don't believe in just speaking and making all the advice and everything. I put my money where my mouth is. So I go on the ground, I get my hands dirty. And I'm saying to all of us, let us go to the people, speak to the people, reach the people, break down the message to the people, make them understand what the implications of what is happening with this government can have on their future and that of their children. Let us go out there and walk the ground. All of us who can. It is not just going calling the talk shows. It's not just writing in the chats. It is not just listening and making comments. It is not just showing up sometimes. It is all being there. All hands need to be on deck to reach the people. If we have to bring the United Workers' Party, which I know can turn this country around, can make it better with the leader that we have. It's the best that we have right now. And this man, with the team that he has put together, can turn St. Lucia around. St. Lucia, leve, gade, kisakika wivezot, ek bay flabo, ek Alan Chasney, un chos pour faire plus bon, pour vous, et puis issue, et puis future St. Lucie. Thank you all. Good night. God bless you. You'll be seeing me in the constituencies, speaking and working with each and every one of you, supporting, pushing our reps, pushing our workers, holding their hands, shoulder to shoulder in the grind. Let us do this work together.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you. And now we go over to my new friend, that is Mr. Mr. Modestus. Thank you.
Thank you, Garfield. Now, just before I go and give my final remarks, let me mention that there was actually some kind of strike in St. Lucia today. The truckers, I understood, got fed up and they were blocking up the traffic around Castries. Okay, but we were not able to touch on that. Anyway, my thing about this is that We are St. Lucians together. St. Lucia belongs to all of us. And we need to move away from this partisan politics where the political leaders of the Labour Party are encouraging that kind of division. I have a lot of friends who are Labour Party supporters. They know that I am, I know that they are. Okay? We know our differences, but we talk. We do not let that get between us. This is where we need to get back to. That is what I need. And we need to do what is best for St. Lucia. Right now, nobody can tell me with any level of truth that they believe the Labour Party is best for St. Lucia. The Labour Party is robbing us blind. There's corruption at a level that we never heard of. We are hearing about not just millions now, billions of dollars. Politicians, a politician is telling us that he has to go and ask a foreign investor if he can come and tell us our own business. I want my fellow St. Lucians to wake up and to smell the coffee. See what's going on. Call a spade a spade. There is no Labour spade or UWP spade. A spade is a spade. Who is wrong, let them know that they are wrong. That is what I leave tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we go over to Chartered Accountant, Mr. Frank Myers.
Thank you very much, Garfield. What I want to do as I'm leaving here is to encourage people to ask questions. Do not accept things at face value. Try to find out the truth, which is one of the most evasive things to find out, but ask questions. I'll give you an example of why I say ask questions. Recently, some of you may have been, or you may have seen President Trump in the press room with the president of South Africa. And during that time, he ambushed him as he normally does. And he produced two pieces of information, if you can call it that, and both of them were false. There was one situation where he had a whole pile of paper in his hand, printout it appears from a newspaper, and he was throwing them across the room, indicating this is genocide in South Africa, this is genocide in South Africa, a whole example of this thing. It turns out that all the photographs he was showing were not of any event that occurred in South Africa. It occurred in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And there, what he was actually talking about was some killings by a rebel group called the M23. It had nothing to do with South Africa whatsoever. The second thing he did was he had his people show up a video, and along a road in the video, a lot of crosses, and he indicated that each cross represented a farmer in South Africa who had been murdered. In actual fact, what those crosses represented was the relations of a single white couple who had been murdered, had put up this as a symbol to other South Africans to stop the violence. So whilst there were probably about 1,000 crosses lined up on that road, 2 people had died. And in an interview of the relatives, one of the relatives of the couple who died, if it is that bad, why didn't you leave South Africa when Trump offered asylum in the United States for white people who were supposedly the subject of genocide. Those two people said, the relative said, that South Africa is his country. He loves South Africa, and the majority of people in South Africa want to work together to make it a better place. This is an example I'm pointing out where the most powerful man in the world was fabricating stories so that he can get people, he can influence people into thinking his way. Do not believe for a moment that this is above any politician anywhere. Every time you are told things, question it. And not question it frivolously, but question it with the intention of getting to the heart of the matter so that you are best placed to make a decision. Do not accept things at face value. That's all I would urge you going forward. Thanks much.
Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies, for being here. I really appreciate the time that you have dedicated for the informing information to our viewers. It is such a pleasure to have you. And to our viewers, I want to thank you so much for being here with us on the platform. To those of you who were trying to reach us, we do apologize. Maybe next time we will open the lines a little earlier. Also, I want to remind you of the event on Saturday. That is, I believe, Saturday, the Sisters of the South. There is a massive. I'm going to Joe. Before you go, you want to say something on that?
Sure.
Yes.
Well, we have been advertising it, but it's a massive dinner. Everybody should come out and support, and we will be expecting maybe more than 400 to 500 people. And we are ready. Everything is in place, and it's going to be massive. So all road leads to Debbie's place this coming Saturday. Things start from 7, so you'll be there anytime, but dinner serves by 9.
Right, and the individuals who won the prize on the last show with Laura, I would want you to make contact with us. We need to get you that ticket so that you can attend the event. So send us the information so that we can reach out to you. Again, thank you so much, folks. Have a beautiful night. Remember to be good to each other and country first. It is important, the country first, and then everything else. When I say everything else, party comes after. But please go out there and do not curse anyone. Do not insult anyone. Stick on the issues. You're better there. I discourage it. Don't create enemies with anyone, especially when you're discussing political matters. Stay on the issues. If you don't understand it, keep your mouth zip. All right? Don't spread rumors. Don't lie. We have a great responsibility to educate and to guide a generation to come. And that's why we're here. We do all this wastage and everything else. We need to bring it under control so that we will not leave a massive bill for our grandchildren. We just can't afford that. And so I always say to you, and I don't know if someone will rebuke me on this, but I always say that a lot of these kids, when they move into leadership and they look back at some of us, they will spit on our graves because we did nothing to protect them. And they will have to build a brand new airport. They will have to build new hospitals, new roads, but they would have billions of dollars in loans sitting there and nothing to show. So that's why we're here, friends, all right? So go out there and be good, be nice. Remember, wash your hands, wash your face, and say your prayers and go to bed, folks. Have a beautiful night. Thank you so much for being part of the Caribbean American News Media.
They stream the tears and the cheers so clear. From the church to the pitch, they're always near.